Yvonne Tester and Maritza Giorgio, everyone. We are coming to you live on Substack before we actually record a podcast episode today with the one and only Gloria Allred. We're going to talk to her about Jeffrey Epstein. There's so much going on in the world. We just thought we should get on Substack Live with you and go over kind of like the plethora of headlines here with our friends in our Substack community.
Well, it's good. As you can see, Maritza looks good. I look thin. I look dirty, which is par for the course. You know, I've been farming for damn near 50 years. It's all dry land, no irrigated. And on some of my alfalfa, I got a second cutting, so I baled it. I just literally got off the baler, and I didn't do
Well,
it.
that's a big deal.
I should have done a video, but
You should have done a video, but you're going out on the combine later, so
that's why she looks so good and I look so bad. That's the way it is.
well, I've also been doing this like morning live news headline thing with my friends at Zeem, and they're doing this like live streamed road trip with these two comedians, Mike Young and Brett Ertz. So I've been getting up early in the morning, getting ready to do some news chat with them. So that's partly why. Otherwise, I would still be in my pajamas probably. But
I see.
yeah, you need to send us a video though of your bailing. Hey, we want to say Diane says hello from Washington State that she loves Montana. Hi, Diane.
Washington State. Yeah.
Okay, so
Good Washington. Yeah,
it's a good Washington. I like the other Washington too.
yeah, it's fine. It's okay. Yeah.
Before we get into it, we are talking with Gloria Allred. High profile lawyer. She has represented several of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, and we are going to talk to her about the whole Epstein saga. She's known for taking on high-profile and controversial cases. There's just so much to talk about, and every day more and more gets going on this, and we hear more about Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, and we want to talk to her about the victims too. And that's kind of like the really great thing about this Substack community is that we're in this together. This is interactive, and we can hear directly from you right now, like what you want us to talk to her about. So feel free to put it in the message. You ready to get into some headlines?
Ready to rock and roll.
Okay. Are you following this Texas thing, this redistricting map?
Well, no, but it's par for Texas. I mean, this is, yeah, go ahead and go. Yeah, set up your question and then I'll do what I got.
All right. So here's the deal. Like the way we send people to Washington for the House, it's all by these districts, like right? Like so your senators, you have 2 senators for each state and they represent everybody in the state. Well, these House districts, they have different boundaries. So like in Montana, we have 2. And there was this whole big thing about how they were going to draw the districts and where that line would fall because, it matters. And there are all kinds of rules for each state. So usually this happens every 10 years after the census when we see kind of where people live and how they're dispersed. Well, that's not what's happening in Texas right now because they have proposed and released this proposed new redistricting map. And they are working on a redistricting process in between the decades here, not right after a census, and a year before the midterms, which is really rare. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says that they are doing it because the DOJ says 4 current districts that happen to lean left are unconstitutional. And this is all to try to accomplish President Trump's goal of adding more Republican seats in Congress. Again, 1 year before the midterms. The Cook Political Report released early analysis, and it shows that the map could help the GOP win 30 districts in Texas. Now, this is just the first map proposal. This does not mean it's the final, but to add to the drama and all of this, Democrats are saying, all right, let's do this. California Governor Gavin Newsom, it's being reported that he says if they go through with this, he will try to redraw California's map. What do you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of problems in politics today. And we've talked about money in politics being a big, big problem, and it is. Redistricting, reapportionment is another big, big problem. To gerrymander districts over and over and over again to make it so that people's voices are not heard, that a select few voices are heard, is unconstitutional and should be unconstitutional if it's not. But this is just this is more garbage, quite frankly. And it's one of the reasons people hate Washington, D.C., and they prefer Washington State, is because of this kind of garbage that goes on, trying to gerrymander, redistrict so that one side gets preference at the expense of the other side. And look, we're all Americans. They ought to be drawing lines. I don't know. I think Congress ought to make rules around this that apply to every state, that the lines need to be the shortest possible lines possible, and do the population that way. But there's probably better ideas than that out there for redistricting. But the way it's done right now is total bullshit, and that's a fact. And whether it's Abbott doing it to try to give advantage to his side, or whether it's Newsom doing it trying to give advantage to their side, it's all total bullshit, and they ought to do away with it, not the redistricting, but do away with the gerrymandering part and do it the way it should be done, which is give everybody a voice and make the lines. There's reasonable ways to put lines in, and but this is crazy. And then to do it not even after a census, to do it before a midterm for the express reason to make it so that we still have a do nothing Congress for years and years to come is just total horseshit.
All right. Well, let's get into some international headlines. The White House says two U.S. officials will travel to Gaza tomorrow on Friday to inspect aid distribution sites and secure a plan to deliver more food there. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee will apparently be briefed on the situation on the ground in Gaza. It seems the White House here breaking with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on this, who has said that nobody in Gaza is starving.
So Huckabee is the U.S. ambassador to Israel. He should know what's going on right now. He shouldn't have to be briefed about what's going on the ground. He should know that there's people starving. He should be relaying that information to the administration so that they can get the food to the people who need it. This is a pitiful situation, and Netanyahu's definition of starving, I guess, is different than my definition of starving. So um, this is good. I mean, I think it's good. Things are proceeding the way they are, but the ambassador to Israel should be knowing exactly what's going on in Israel. That's why he's there.
Well, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, she posted something. I was going to pull it up really quick. She posted something this week, kind of saying, "Hey, you can be furious about what happened October 7th, and also say that what's happening in Gaza is genocide." She called it genocide. So I think that we're starting to see more people kind of come out and say this doesn't have to be what we're seeing, basically. Marjorie
Well,
Taylor Greene said that.
good for Marjorie. She went after. She was on the right side of Epstein. I think she's on the right side of this, so that's good. Good for her. That's good.
All right. It seems the Trump administration, if you're looking for a job, Senator,
Yeah.
it seems that they are recruiting people to join ICE. They are promising signing bonuses of as much as $50,000 and student loan forgiveness as the administration tries to hire 10,000 new agents. Of course, DHS got a big influx of cash here just a little bit ago in that big, beautiful bill. So they're using some of the money on this campaign.
So if they hire me, Maritza, do I get to wear a mask? So it's kind of like grade school again.
Yeah, you can wear a
Yeah,
mask and yeah, you can just
I guess
go
good.
wherever you want, do whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they need people, then I guess that's what they do. 50,000 is pretty good. Loan forgiveness is pretty good. Maybe we could do the same thing for people who want to go in the teaching profession and work in public education. Help them out
There's
with
an idea.
loan forgiveness. How about if we give loan forgiveness to people who become reporters?
Oh,
Huh?
well, they need man.
Huh?
We could talk about student loans for reporters a lot because
Yeah. Well,
man,
I'm telling
my
you,
first job we made. I mean,
uh,
I remember my first contract. I think I made 18,000 a year.
the porters might be the only ones that make less than school teachers. I'm telling you. Oh, you
And
know.
the good news is that everybody hates you.
Well, there's a couple. There's probably a couple people that like you. It's good. Well, it's good, but you know what? Look at it this way, Maurice. It's good preparation if you ever want to run for office. Kind of like being a basketball referee. You know, by the time you get done, the whole Not as pissed off at you, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I love going through life with everybody mad at me. It's great. I totally don't have anxious attachment.
Yeah, it's good preparation, you know? Thick and
Builds
skin.
character. Yeah, builds character.
Yeah.
All right, your favorite topic, tariffs. There's so much happening in the economy today. First up, tomorrow's August 1st. That's that big deadline. Tariffs are supposed to soar if deals don't get done. Not a lot of deals have been done. I will say they promised 90 deals in 90 days, just a handful of that. It's being reported the White House is working today, though, to try to strike some 11th hour deals. We know that the president announced an extension on the trade deal deadline with Mexico, so they have another 90 days. But things aren't looking so great for Canada because he posted on Truth social media about Canada, saying it would be hard to reach any kind of a deal with them. That's after their prime minister announced plans to recognize a Palestinian state in September.
Well, believe it or not, before President Trump got into office, we had a deal with Canada, and there were some things that might have been to be worked out, like stuff in soft lumber and things like that. But we have certainly taken a lot of steps backwards on this bad boy. And by the way, I don't need to tell the people who are listening, if you don't know, they're our number one trading partner. And so, you start jacking around with these guys, and it's going to have some impacts. And needless to say, that every tariff deal, like the one with Europe, wasn't Europe 15%? It was 1%. Now it's 15%. So it increased anything you buy by 14% that comes from Europe. So it increased your taxes by 14%. Canada is like on steroids when it comes to products out of Canada. I can tell you right now, it's hard to find. I think there's one tractor manufacturer in the United States. The rest of them
Mm.
are elsewhere, and Canada's got at least a couple. And so that's just one small thing. But the truth is that I shouldn't say tractor, I should say equipment, because it applies to combines and drills and
Yeah,
everything else.
that's right. That's right. Balers, all of it.
Diana is the
Swampers.
worst, man. And so, I mean, I just think this whole trade thing started out to be, we're going to hold China accountable, and ends up we're going to piss off all our friends and make sure the whole world's against us. I just don't get it. I've never seen it from the beginning. I don't know if Stephen Miller's calling the shots on this. He needs to go learn about the economy and how it works, because it ain't
I was
working.
talking about this. Like, I did not do well in my college econ course that was mandated, right? And I think this is really complicated stuff, and like when you combine the tariffs and the deals or the deals that haven't been made, and then you combine it with what's happening with the Fed and interest rates. I mean, this is complicated, and the people who are impacted are us. Like we're talking about. I mean, the Yale Budget Lab released a report saying that they expect this tariff policy to cost households an extra $2,400 this year.
Well, that's a bad thing, because now Yale's going to get all their government money pulled from them for putting out a report like that. Because you know they want
Yeah.
to tell the truth. No, look, it's increase in taxes. Tariffs are an increase in taxes. So
And a federal appeals court heard arguments today about whether the president overstepped his authority in imposing many of these tariffs.
yes,
A lot to
the answer is
follow.
the answer is yes, Marita. This is Congress's job.
Are you
Yes.
on that appeals court? Oh,
I'm going to tell you, I'm not even an attorney, and I can tell you the answer is yes. They've got to find a major loophole in the Constitution to make, if the answer is no. I'm going to tell you, this is
well,
crazy.
if they rule against him, well, we see where this is going. It's going to go up to the Supreme Court. We'll see how it goes. But for tomorrow, for August 1st, I'm going to tell you there are some big items that people say that the experts say will go up in price. We're talking about electronics, leather goods, a big one. For me, the big one, coffee.
Coffee, and coffee cups too,
Coffee.
I suppose.
Everything, yeah,
Yeah.
everything. So, the Fed did not lower interest rates. The president went after Jerome Powell again. He said that he's too late and actually too angry, too stupid, and too political to have the job of Fed chair. So No new news there. And another thing that happened related to finance, a new
This
bill
this
moved out of. Oh, go
you
ahead.
just gotta stop for a second. Jerome Powell, if he's anything, he's not stupid. I'm gonna tell you, this dude is white hot smart. He looks at everything. He takes his job very seriously. He doesn't make decisions based upon political whim. Does he make, as I said before, does he make every decision that I like? No, he's made some decisions I dislike, but he's done it based on information that's factual. And that's hard to get these days. And I'm going to tell you, you get rid of Jerome Powell as head of the Fed, it's a giant, giant, giant fucking mistake. Keep going.
Exclamation point, right? Exclamation point on
About
that.
three or four. Tink, tink, tink,
Okay.
tink, tink.
Okay. So a new bill moved out of committee yesterday in the other Washington in DC. It would ban members of Congress from buying, selling, or owning individual stocks. Oh, we got two thumbs up from the
Two
senator
thumbs
on that
up.
one.
Two
All
thumbs up.
Democrats on the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs voted for it, and Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri broke ranks. He joined them, and he told his fellow Republicans that he practices what he preaches. And we heard from some people saying, like, "What's your deal? You don't want us to get rich?"
So this is the best one that's come down the pipe because there's been a lot of them that's banned trading. This bans the works. This bans owning stocks, selling stocks, buying stocks, trading stocks. In other words, if you sign up for Congress and you run for Congress, you got to get rid of your stocks. And then you can't buy them back and you can't trade. If you want to stop corruption, if you want to stop the wholesale bullshit that's going on in Washington, D.C. right now, this bill needs to pass. This one.
Okay,
Good
so
bill.
give us some insight because I mean,
Well,
I can speculate, but like you guys, as a senator, you had information about all kinds of stuff that could
you,
influence what you bought, right?
you get information all the time about what's happening. And if you look at it from a standpoint of how am I going to make myself rich instead of how am I going to do my job, then you can make money off the stuff. And one of the ways to do it is to buy and sell stock. We saw it earlier this year with people in the cabinet, buying and selling
Mhm.
stocks based upon what tariff was going on or what tariff was going off and all that crap that they knew long before you or I or anybody that's on this Substack listening knew. And so, if you want to stop this stuff, if you really want to stop, you know, selling, uh, you know, uh, meme coins and doing all this other crap, then God damn it, pass this bill. It's the right thing to do. It's not why I like people to go to Washington, D.C. I like them to make policy that moves this country forward and helps the middle class and the businesses in this country. And
I
that's
still don't get
why
meme coins, by the way. I still like I have trouble understanding that. Okay.
I don't understand how it's spelled to get mean myself, but
Let's get through two more before we hop off and jump on our conversation with Gloria Allred about Jeffrey Epstein. So again, if you have any questions you want us to ask her, you can put them in the comment section here. Former VP Kamala Harris, she's going on Stephen Colbert tonight. It's her first interview since losing the election in November. Comes the same day she announced that she's writing a book about the campaign and also that she is not running for governor in California next year.
okay, cool. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, all right.
I think it's all good.
We'll see what she
Camp
has to say.
the campaign didn't go really well for president, so it'll be interesting to see what the book says.
Okay, other 2026 news. NBC is reporting that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is looking at running for governor of Tennessee. The Pentagon is calling it fake news. But two people who say they spoke to him directly about the plans talked to NBC anonymously. And if this goes forward, he would have to resign. And he also might not be eligible for governor because Tennessee law says that gubernatorial candidates have to live there for 7 years before an election, and he only moved there 3 years ago.
Well, rules are rules, but he'd be running against Marsha Blackburn for the primary nomination for governor, and I haven't heard who the Democrat is running for governor. Excuse me.
Bless you. I don't know that off the top of my head. I could Google it, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if it's actually fake news or if they just are saying it's fake news.
Well, it'll be fake news if he has to live there for 7 years because he won't be eligible to run, so then they'll say,
Will that matter though? Who will enforce that?
"Oh, I didn't get the point." Probably
Aren't
some
rules?
probably some court that might find that the president has authority to apply tariffs. I don't know.
I mean, what good are rules if there's nobody to like actually enforce them?
That's right. You got it.
So we want to welcome into the conversation right now, high profile attorney Gloria Allred. And Gloria, I mean, thank you so much for joining us here on Grounded.
Thank you.
You have represented victims of Epstein's. How many do you know the number? How many you've represented?
Approximately 27 victims and survivors.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
When did they first come to you? What do you remember what year it was?
I don't remember what year it was, but it was a while before it became public. And so here's what I remember about not when the first person came, because, I've been practicing in January, it'll be 50 years
Oh my gosh.
that my partners and I have been practicing together as a law firm, and we believe that we have been the leading victims' rights law firm in the country for all that time. A lot of pioneering cases, victim oriented, women and minorities oriented. Um, but in any event, so I remember that when Jeffrey Epstein was finally arrested and taken into custody, put in the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York, uh, that I went to his first hearing, uh, or the first hearing where he was present, and so many of the victims were hoping that finally they would be able to get a measure of justice, because that had not happened in Florida, where he was going to be indicted by the by the federal prosecutor on numerous charges, but then somehow Mr. Acosta decided it should be a state prosecution, not a federal one, and so passed it off to the state of Florida. And he got a sweetheart deal where he had pled guilty to soliciting an act of prostitution, I think, of a minor, and maybe one other charge. And his sentence was that he could work from his office every day and just sleep in the jail at night for a period of time. Uh, and in any event, so that why I bring that up, because the victims had hoped for some justice there, uh, and allegations about soliciting a minor, or involved in any kind of improper sexual activity with the minor, very serious. But we haven't never really gotten to the bottom of that. And so there was no trial because he entered a plea, so they didn't get justice there. Fast forward to New York, and then in New York, when Jeffrey Epstein was finally arrested, then he had to appear in court. Many of the victims were there as well. They're all hoping that finally they would be able to, in a way, get their day in court in a criminal case. It doesn't really happen, but to some extent, it does. And and I have a lot of questions about that. But moving on, that meant there was not going to be a trial of Jeffrey Epstein. So once again, the survivors were disappointed. In a roller coaster, up and down and up and down. And then, of course, then the next thing was there was a federal judge who was actually wonderful and did something extremely unusual. And he decided to have a hearing where the victims could give their victim impact statement, or through their attorney if they so wished. And so I attended that with some of my clients. Some of them spoke, and I spoke on behalf of some others who did not wish their name to be revealed, but wanted the court to know, what they had suffered. So once again, no trial, and now the death of the accused. Then again, Ms. Maxwell, and that trial, and here she is convicted of sex trafficking minors. And anyway, she is sentenced to 20 years in prison. And now there are some unusual occurrences where you have the second in command of the Justice Department, Todd Blanche, Assistant Attorney General, former criminal defense attorney of President Trump, when, at the time in the case in which President Trump, not at that time, he wasn't president, but he was former president, was convicted of 34 felonies, is interviewing Ms. Maxwell, who did know President Trump and apparently socialized because she was at one time supposedly the girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, but also now, many testified that she recruited a lot of the young girls to Jeffrey Epstein. So that brings us to the present, where many of victims, some that I'm not representing, have said on television, and many others have called on for the files to be released by the Justice Department. And the president at first wanted to put an end to it, and I think I got the sense that he was not in favor of it, but then said, okay, grand jury transcripts if the court agrees. Of course, most judges do not agree to release grand jury transcripts because they're secret. And now we find that even if it were to be released, it only consists of 2 law enforcement officers who spoke to the grand jury in the grand jury hearing in reference to Ms. Maxwell, and I think one in reference to Mr. Epstein. Anyway, so here we are today, and the president's saying, that Jeffrey Epstein stole Virginia Giuffre from him, Virginia Giuffre being one of the victim survivors who also alleged that Prince Andrew had sex with her when she was a minor, could not consent, 17 years old. He never agreed to do an interview with the prosecution, which they called on publicly for him to do. That was unusual. And now the family of, Jeffrey had a statement today that, in response to President Trump saying yesterday that Jeffrey Epstein stole, that's in quotes, STOLE, stole, end quote, Virginia from him because she was working, I think, as a locker room attendant in his spa, and then she's recruited by Ms. Maxwell, according to Virginia, to go to Jeffrey Epstein. So the family of Virginia is very upset, and they want to know now, they have questions, did President Trump, who by his own admission said he was a friend for many years of Jeffrey Epstein, it ended at a point, was he aware of any criminal misconduct by Ms. Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein? So I brought you right back up to today, but I've been talking a lot, and I'm more interested, frankly, in answering your questions. But that is it has become not only a legal issue, but a political issue, major political issue, and become a very big issue for victims and survivors, because for many of them, it's very traumatic and triggering to have to hear about all of this again after so many years, and after they've been trying to put it behind them. But here we are. And I think it's going to remain an issue for a long time, because until answers are given, the questions are going to increase.
And they're not just hearing about it a little. I mean, it's taking up all of the headlines, like all of them.
Yeah, well, and some commentators have said that could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. Of course, I'm most interested in how it impacts the victims. But if you want to get into the political area, and I'd love to hear Senator Tester's on this as well as yours, Maritza. Some people are saying, "Oh, that's good for the Democrats because, that the president has a lot of splaining to do, so to speak, as they might say in the South." And some of the Republicans also want to see the files, and yet they don't want to alienate the president. On the other hand, some people are saying that it's bad for the president because then he can't talk about what he calls his successes. On the other hand, it's might be good for the president because, then he doesn't have to talk about the failures. Not that he would himself characterize anything that he's done as a failure, but so it's kind of a mixed bag. May I ask, Senator, what you think about all this?
Yeah, I bet he has a lot of questions too.
After all the stuff, all the crap that I've seen the president do to women, uh, when he was running the first time and reported on, and he hasn't been held accountable for any of it. I don't understand why he doesn't want this list out. There must be something special about this list that is different than all the other things that he has done to women, because it's been fairly well documented. And most politicians, if they've done any of that kind of stuff, at least from my perspective, it's a death knell for them. But let me ask you this: the list that the Department of Justice has, do you think it should be released? What's the upside? What's the downside? Do you think the list should be released?
Well, I have to say, I don't know whether there's a list or not. I do believe that there were others known to and having socialized with Jeffrey Epstein, some, not all, who may very well have been involved, in other words, third parties, in exploiting and sexually abusing young girls or adult women who had been victimized first by Jeffrey Epstein. But whether there was a physical list of that or just people that Jeffrey Epstein decided to either conspire with or just kind of use the women as bait, um, or, as a commodity to be a kind of in exchange for something that Jeffrey Epstein wanted. I'm not there to comment on that, but I'm saying just if there is no list, it doesn't mean that there was no one else who was involved. And if there is a list, I would like to see it, but I just don't know one way or another. I'm not sure that he would have kept a list. Now, that's something Ms. Maxwell might be able to answer, Senator. So, on the other hand, are we even going to see the answers that she's given over the course of many hours to Assistant Attorney General Todd Blanche? Of course, it's extremely unusual that a person that high up in the Justice Department would interview a convicted felon. And usually it'd be a line prosecutor, but of course we know that the prosecutor who wasn't, was extremely involved in the Maxwell case, the Epstein case, and many other cases. And I came to know her because I represented victims in the Epstein case and, in some other cases. And she was a fantastic prosecutor, very sensitive to victims. Maureen Comey is no longer there. She's been fired. But anyway, there were many others involved, and they could have interviewed Ms. Maxwell if there was a need to do that, and they would have been fully aware of everything that the government had alleged, her prior testimony, um, and why two counts of perjury were filed against her. Anyway, so this is unusual, in the first place, that such a high-level prosecutor would interview her. And secondly, I understand there was no recording. I don't know if he took notes. And the idea that he would do it instead of an FBI agent or a line prosecutor, I'd like to hear more about that from the administration about why that was the case. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if the Senate or the Congress, any committee, would like to have a hearing where they ask Mr. Blanche to testify. Maybe, maybe not. There's no attorney-client privilege there. He's
That's a
a
good
witness.
point.
He's a witness now to what she said. So
I'm going to ask
I
Senator.
know that the Democrats are in a minority in the Senate and Congress, and maybe that'll change next year. I don't know, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of battles. And anyway, but for now, of course, people say, well, why aren't the Democrats doing anything? They're doing what they can do, but they're in the minority. They don't have the key word there, which is called power, end quote. And so That's where we are. But there are some Republicans who would like answers, and then we'll see what we get.
Yep. It'd be great if Congress stepped up to the plate on anything, including this.
Well, some
But
people are starting to get, celebrate Christmas in July, so maybe that's possible too. I don't know. Doubt it, but okay.
So, Gloria, like, what do you think? Knowing what you know about this case and knowing what you know about how our justice system works, I mean, whether or not there's a list, they have documents. Like, there's a whole file, right? So, what do you think is in there? And do you think that short of releasing all of it, even redacted to the public, do you think anything will appease the people and the MAGA base who's been calling and chanting for this for years? Do you think anything will appease them short of releasing everything?
I don't know, but from what I've heard, they were promised that it would be released, that there would be transparency. So I guess that's between them and the president as to whether that promise that they have every reason to believe was made to them will be kept, or if not, if they will be told why not. So we'll have to see. By the way, the videos, very concerned about, and these child pornography videos, we don't know how many, but there probably are many, uh, that were found in Mr. Epstein's residence. Um, they should not be viewed by anybody. I mean, if I've had situations, lawyer for rape victims, child sexual abuse victims. Sometimes people say, "Oh, here's a video of your client who was 8 years old, and here's a video of her being sexually abused." Okay, don't send it to me. I can't look at it. Under the law, I'm not allowed to look at it, even if I'm trying to prove my client was sexually abused. So I take that seriously, and I follow the law, which is my duty as a lawyer. And so there are adult videos too of adults. So without their knowledge and consent, many of them were filmed. This must never be seen by anybody except maybe law enforcement if there's a prosecution, or prosecutors. But I'm saying this part of what I'll call documents, that you were asking about. We don't know what else. Okay. I would like to see emails. I would like to see texts. I would like to see direct messages. I would like to see whatever there is. Youth wants to know, but and apparently the public wants to know. And I guess the public wants to know probably even more because they're told they can't know. They can't be, they can't see it. And when somebody says you can't see it, then people generally want to see it even more than if somebody says, "Oh, you can see this 100,000 pages." And like, no, okay, I wanted to see it, but no, I don't want to see 100,000. I'm not sure that I really want to read 5. And so maybe I don't want to see it. But if you say you can't see it, then you wonder why. What's in it? Is there a smoking gun? Or as the kids would say, what's up with that? I don't know.
so can talk about the victims for a bit. What I mean, it would seem to me this kind of stuff screw you up forever. Are they getting back to a normal life, or with this reopening, or is it just is it just raising hell with their heads?
Well, thank you for asking, Senator, because sometimes people discuss this whole thing and they never even ask about the victim. So, I think it's very hard for many of them. Uh, they do have access to therapy. There has been compensation for some of them from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein for many of them. But, there's no compensation that will ever make up for what they suffered. And some of them have married for the first time, have children. They don't want their husbands to know about this or their children. They've they've kept their privacy for all these years. I've represented them for many years. Their names have never been exposed by anyone. We've never mentioned them except with their knowledge and consent. If they wish to. Most don't wish to. Some are from this country and some are from other countries. Okay. Because there was sex trafficking going on. So you're right. This is not something that just goes away, in a year even. For a long time, it has an impact on them. For many of them, sometimes they feel shamed and blamed and feel like maybe it was their fault or they did something or they should have known. Why didn't they know? So we also, and their therapists, help them to understand they're not to blame. And they were taken advantage of by a man who knew what he was doing. He's very manipulative, Jeffrey Epstein, powerful, wealthy, and taken advantage of by Ms. Maxwell. So, we'd like to support them and protect them and do everything possible to win justice as much as can be won in this matter. That's what this is all about.
So, just really quick, and I'll let get to Marisa, but counseling costs a lot of money. Has there been any sort of funds set aside from the folks who committed the crimes to?
Well, counseling has been made available to them. First of all, any victim of crime is entitled as a victim to get counseling at no cost to them.
No kidding.
But in addition to that, therapy, victims' rights. At least many states have that. But in addition to that, therapy has been made available to them through this compensation fund. So, and that's going to be at no cost to them. So I'm glad you asked. That's really important.
Gloria, I mean, when we talk about Ghislaine Maxwell and the speculation that there's even a consideration of pardoning her, I mean, what would that do not only to public perception of the story, but to the victims?
Well, there are some who've spoken out, not my clients yet, who said they would be against that. And Virginia's family today said Virginia wouldn't even want them to be talking to Ms. Maxwell. Why are they talking to her? Essentially, I guess, because of her role in recruiting and victimizing many of the girls. And by the way, she's accused not only of sex trafficking and conspiring to sex traffic, but for herself to engage in some sexual abuse of some of the girls. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Congress said they wanted her to testify before them, and then she came up with a list of demands, some of which I think were reasonable and some not. Like, you have to give me the questions in advance, which they never do, right, Senator? And then, give her immunity, which frankly I think is reasonable request for someone if they're going to testify to what might be crimes that they might have been involved in. Otherwise, I take the fifth.
That's right.
And so we'll have to see what happens with that. I think from her point of view, and this is just a guess because I've never spoken to her, nor do I wish to ever speak to her. I think her focus is the president and getting him to either pardon her or at least significantly commute her sentence. But either way, I think it would probably not be well received at all by the victims. They'd probably be very upset, most of them anyway, if not all.
And we should mention, you've also represented women who've accused Donald Trump of crime.
Yes.
I remember the first time I met you, Gloria, I was in your office and you came in and you told me that he was indicted. That was the first time I had ever heard that. And that's a core memory now forever. It was something I'll never forget. But you've represented women who've accused him of crimes. So how does that
But
play?
he wasn't indicted for that.
No, it wasn't for that, it was
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
even
just to be clear.
just
Yeah.
to be clear,
Lots of
first time.
things.
The
Yeah,
first
yeah,
time
lots
he
of
was
other
indicted.
yeah, he
But
was, yeah.
like, where does this all fit in, right? There's so many conspiracy theories out there, especially surrounding Epstein, and speculation, and the more gaps we have in knowledge, the more people fill in with their own theories. So where does all of this fit in? And to Senator Tester's point, some of the stuff that he has done on camera toward women, like what could be in there related to him? I know that's speculation, but
What could be and where? In the files?
in the files and in all of this.
Well, actually, what I just said, on CNN is, that the family of Virginia said they'd like to have an answer to a number of questions. And that made me think about, has during all these years, since Donald Trump said he was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein and socialized him with him, we saw photos and videos of that, and then ultimately ended the relationship through various reasons given by Mr. Trump. Uh, One was that he was a creep. Another one was that he stole Virginia, his employee. Another story I've seen was that that Epstein was alleged to have made an inappropriate or engaged in inappropriate conduct to a daughter of a Mar-a-Lago member. I don't know. But my question is, did the FBI ever interview Donald Trump before he was president? Donald Trump, uh, or since he's been, or in the interim when he wasn't? Not to say they subpoenaed him, but did they ever ask him to meet with them? Because since he was a friend, since he indicated that he knew Jeffrey Epstein liked young women, beautiful young women, like he does or did, um, did the FBI ever interview him, or Homeland Security? And I pointed out that it was in the news some time ago that the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, who was investigating Epstein, had called out publicly for Prince Andrew to meet with the prosecutors. Um, because we saw that picture of Prince Andrew in Virginia and Ms. Maxwell. And they like to ask Prince Andrew's questions, which is not to say Prince Andrew committed any criminal act. But cutting to the chase, there was a lot of back and forth, and Prince Andrew never met with the prosecutors. His lawyers gave, well, a scheduling, or we couldn't schedule this or that, but he really wanted to, and he never did. Okay, which leads one to think he never wanted to, even though he gave a long interview to the BBC, not under oath, but then got a lot of criticism and then didn't meet the prosecutor. My point is, anybody who might have any information about a criminal act, especially one against children, should be happy to meet with law enforcement, should volunteer to meet with law enforcement. And it doesn't mean that they've committed any wrong, but, we should help children and provide information to law enforcement. And, Prince Andrew shouldn't be saying, well, I don't have anything that's relevant. You know what? You were in his home in New York. There were a lot of young women there. It's not for you to decide if you know anything that's relevant to a criminal act. Let law enforcement decide that.
Is there
The
anything
beat
else?
goes on, the drama goes on. It's not ending tomorrow, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Is there anything else in this conversation, though, when you hear so many people talk about this, aside from so many so many commenters just not talking about the victims, as we've talked about. Is there anything else that you think is being left out of this conversation that is pertinent or important to understand or know as we wait for more?
Well, as James Thurber once said, sometimes the questions are more important than the answers. And questions are going to go on. Okay. Questions for the president are going to go on. He wants it to go away. It's not going away. Why it won't go away is another issue. But it's not going away. And I don't think it should go away because I think, the way to end conspiracy theories is to, fill that vacuum with information that's credible. By the way, at one point, the administration said they would release information that was credible from the files. With all due respect, I don't think they are the ones who should judge what's credible. Okay. So let's not keep putting little roadblocks in the way of releasing the information. Let's just get it out, and then we'll see what we can make of it, if anything. But meanwhile, it's making us all think about child sexual abuse, victimization of children and young women, power differential, rich, powerful, famous men getting away with criminal acts that they shouldn't be allowed to get away with. And so I think the public does deserve answers. And I hope that you'll get some of those answers on your show, Senator Tester and Maritza. I think if anybody's going to ask good questions, I'm sure you two will.
Very much, Gloria. But I will tell you that why Congress hasn't been at work having hearings about this, bringing people like you in, and a lot of other people, and just talking about what has transpired and what the potential problem. I mean, you've given information today that I've never even thought about.
Mhm.
Well, feel free to put my name out there to some of your Democratic colleagues, and
But the point is it's going to take a bipartisan effort to get to the
it is.
bottom. And if folks on the other side, and I get in a lot of trouble by saying there's good folks on the other side of the aisle because there isn't enough of them standing up that are good folks on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. When it comes to child abuse, child pornography, anything involving children, what the hell is more important than that?
Yes, exactly.
It's crazy. But
Well,
thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad you have a podcast. It's a perfect person for you to do it with. And I wish you a lot of success with this and any of your future ventures in politics or anywhere else in the world. I'm sure that whatever you do will bring something good to somebody who needs it. Many somebodies.
Very kind of saying that. Thank you very, very much.
all right. Thank you so much, Gloria. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Maritza.
And congrats on 50 years. That's incredible.
50 years, and my daughter's an attorney, and my two grandchildren are attorneys.
Oh.
And I thought that I was finished sending people to law school, but now I find out I'm going to be a great grandma. So I may have to start saving for the law school for my great grandson to be.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank you. But more justice, for victims, more empowerment to women and girls, and we still have a long way to go. So we'll keep fighting.
All right. Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You are so right. She brought up, are you frozen?
No.
Oh, that was a face. Wow. You were frozen in thought. You were so right, though. She brought up things I hadn't thought of. And that's why a mind like Gloria Allred's is so important when talking about this. I told you, I will never forget. I went down to interview her in her office in LA about Epstein. We were doing an investigation for Scripps News about kind of what the heck was going on. Bill Barr with the DOJ promised an investigation into his death and promised they'd find answers, and years had gone by and pertinent people to that investigation had not been interviewed or even talked to by the DOJ. And so we walked in and she came right in and she said, Donald Trump was just indicted, and it was the Stormy Daniels hush money indictment. And she's such an iconic figure in these moments in our history, and I'm just so grateful that she joined us today.
Absolutely. In fact, an honor. I've watched her work my entire adult life, and pretty amazing. And you can tell why she's a good attorney because she never dumps to conclusions. She just kind of lets stuff come to you.
Yeah.
I mean, there were questions I was going to ask in the end, but she already answered him.
I know.
If you listen to her answers, she already answered them. So it was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I continue to think that this is a no-win situation for the president. I don't see any great way out of this for him. I know we talked about this and you said the way out is to release the information. But like you made a really good point, Senator. I mean, there's got to be something that somebody doesn't want to see the light of day.
And she alluded to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on this?
No, I just, yeah, you tell me where this is going to end. Cause this is kind of I mean, I just don't see where it ends, but
No,
it
I don't either.
is what it is.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm curious to see your former colleague, Senator Wyden, has been digging into some of the financials, and he's apparently going to release some information tonight, Thursday night. So I'm interested to see that. As we hear more and more and more, I mean, it just seems like there's kind of a slow drip of news and more information and things that are uncovered. And then you have the president continuing to talk about this. I mean, this week alone, he's used a couple of words that I wouldn't use, like that he didn't have the privilege of going to Epstein Island. That was one of them. And then what Gloria talked about, that he said that Epstein stole Virginia from his spot, Mar-a-Lago. I mean, I don't think those are the best words to use when there's so much focus on this and so much focus on what your involvement is.
Agreed.
All right.
Words are important. And, some people get criticized for paying too much attention to the words, but if we're talking about child abuse, pay attention to the words.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Gloria said thinks there are still questions around his death. I have heard so many people, like, people have very strong opinions about this. They either think there was no wrongdoing, that it was his doing, or that he was murdered. And then some people say, well, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But if he was murdered, I think it does matter. If he was murdered, I think it does matter because
It matters if it's murdered. Yes.
yeah, because he was murdered for a reason, if he was murdered, I should say. If he was murdered, it happened for a reason. So, his brother has been adamant, and I've talked to him before, and I talked to him as part of my investigation, that he does not think it was a suicide, and he was adamant that there was a medical examiner that was not interviewed, and Gloria had brought that up with me too. So, just a lot of questions, a lot of mystery, but for sure, for sure, for sure, this will continue to be the focus of so many people. Right or wrong, it will continue to be the focus. So let's ask you about that hat. I see you're sitting kind of far back. I see a bee. Is that some kind of, oh, it's like a hornet?
Close. You're really good.
Was it a wasp? A yellow jacket? I don't know. Something I don't want stinging me.
Then now we'll see if the Minnesotan really knows. This is a university in Montana, and their mascot is the Yellow Jackets.
Oh, I'm guessing it's something Billings.
That's because it's got a B. We're Butte, but Montana Tech is at the Yellow Jackets. Okay, well, say
They're the ore diggers. I know that.
does not have a university, so B is good. So you got a choice. There's two of them.
Hold on, hold on,
When is it?
hold on. Let's see. It is
Googling it, right?
Montana State University Billings Yellow Jackets.
Oh, you Googled it. You cheated. I
But
know.
here's my question. Montana State University Billings, how come it doesn't say M sub? He's just shaking his head.
Well, because Northern's already got M Sun, and they didn't want to look like a copycat. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. Why'd you choose that today? Did you get stung?
No, it's because my grandson, I lose my grandson off the farm tomorrow to go play football, so that means that with the semester system, college is about 3 weeks away from firing up. So that's why I wore it.
All right. Well, I bet you're going to miss his hard work on the farm.
Yeah. No, no, it's it. He's a good kid. I'm gonna look. I look forward to seeing what happens during the football season. But I'm also interested to see what he learns in the diesel class that he's taking. So good.
Wait a second. That feels like maybe you have a vested interest in that. Like maybe it could benefit you somehow.
I do. I've got a couple motors in mind for him right now. Um, yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Brayden, watch out. He's putting you to work. This is use and abuse. Is he there?
No, he's not.
You're looking
Listen,
behind you like he might be there.
no, no. Well, that's because I thought you were talking to him. So we got Tilly coming on.
We haven't finalized it, but we are in contact, and of course, Senator Tillis not running for reelection, and he voted against the bill, the big beautiful bill, your favorite bill, and he's been a little bit outspoken since then. So since he's announced he's not running for reelection, so I look forward to chatting with him. We are hoping to kind of nail that down. I actually have your email. Do you have a second?
I do.
All right. This is Kelly, and she wants to ask you when you go to the local store or the meeting place, like they had in Virginia, the co op, and all the farmers and ranchers see each other, what are people talking about? Like when you go and chat with people in your farming community, what are they talking about?
It's really a good question. Usually I go in and buy what I got to buy and I leave. So
He
uh,
doesn't like people, Kelly.
used to be a people person, then they ruined it for me. I they always talk about the price of grain. You always talk about the weather, and they're always talking about when harvest is going to be and what their yield is, and sometimes the yields get pretty big. But that aside, yeah, I mean they're not talking about uh they're not talking about tariffs screwing up the price of wheat if that's what we're
Mm.
looking at. Not talking about losing due process. They're not talking about ICE tackling U.S. senators and throwing them on the floor. Um, so it's usually much higher altitude than the specific stuff. My where you can really get into it, and is if you're spending more time, like if you're sitting at a bar and you're visiting with somebody that doesn't know who you are, doesn't know who I am, which occasionally happens, then that's how you can get into conversations. I mean, most people aren't going to talk to me about Trump if they're pissed off about Trump because they know I'm going to agree with them. Most people aren't going to, talk to me about politics. We said this before when I was a U.S. senator. I remember going and get my hair cut because this just happened to me on Monday. I got my hair cut, and I was talking to Megan. I remember Megan coming out. My barber was still alive then, and Megan said, "Don't go in there. They're having you for lunch." Well, I had to get a damn haircut, so I went into the barber shop, and sure enough, there was a truck driver sitting in the chair getting his hair cut. And I asked him about his truck and different stuff, and so we could open the conversation. But he never said one word to me about what kind of job I was doing, which is what they were talking about before I came through the door. So oftentimes people won't talk to me about what they're really concerned about because I don't know, maybe they don't want the answer I'm going to give them,
Mhm.
or maybe it's some other reason. I don't know. So for Kelly, when I go to the farm store, I usually don't pick up any tidbits that are good.
That's a good barber story, though.
So, yeah, it was pretty funny because she came out, she was just, going there.
Don't
And
go
I
in there.
and I said, "Well, I gotta go in there because I gotta get a damn haircut, and I only had a certain amount of time to get that done." So I went in. Interesting enough, when he left, Barber Bill took his sweat rag that they have that they wipe, and he threw it on the floor, and he said, "I'll be a son of a bitch." He wouldn't say a damn word, and he says, "You set it up. He could have talked to you about anything you want, but he didn't say anything." But that's typically the case. I mean, typically people. not so much anymore because I'm not in the U.S. Senate, but if they were complaining about what I was doing, they wouldn't complain to me. They'd complain to my kid or my wife or,
Yeah.
somebody that, um, because and by the way, I wish people would have come up and said, "Hey, I wish you wouldn't have voted for the infrastructure bill, or you wasted time putting money into broadband," or whatever, if whatever their concern was, because I could have told them why I'm doing what I'm doing. But that's the way it is. It's just
We could probably swap some war stories, though, about things that people have come up and said to our face.
no, I gotta tell you, most people were very kind to me. I mean, I had a guy come up and say one time, he said, "You didn't answer my letter." And so I got my chief of staff happened to be there. It was at a town hall kinda meeting, not one that I put on, but somebody else's, and so my state director then was Dana Swanson. I said, "Dana, our policy is we answer every letter. This guy didn't answer a letter." Well, she had this little doodad, and she brought up the record and brought up his letter and showed we did respond to it, and she didn't have to make a response, so I brought him over and I said, "We did respond." He says, "Well, you responded, but you didn't give me the answer I wanted."
Oh, but good for Dana. She had the receipts.
Dana figured out she had the receipt, exactly right. She had the receipt for the letter, but, we still got all those letters that people wrote in and all my responses, and so when people try to sometimes bullshit you, not that people would, that you got the receipt, so you can show them that you know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
had.
Well, that's good. Okay. Well, now we will wrap this up. Thank you to our guest, Gloria Allred, for coming on. We want to thank our friends at Pearl Jam for letting us use their music. And to all of you, our listeners, we wouldn't be doing this without your love and support. We appreciate you, and we will chat again soon.
Hally, hally.